What's up, Night Owl? Still here back with another Radiant Citadel guide, and today we're going to be having a look at the very first adventure in the book, Salted Legacy. One of the things you'll notice from running the adventures within the Radiant Citadel is that each adventure is themed around a specific culture. The writer of each adventure themes the adventure around their own culture, and Salted Legacy is themed around a night market in Thailand. The author of this adventure, Serena Marie, sorry if I'm pronouncing that wrong, says that night markets in general are also a huge part of Thai culture. There are so many floating night markets in Bangkok, and the wonder that you experience going into a market that has almost everything for sale is pretty cool. I'll leave a link to the interview with the writer about this adventure in the description. This adventure is designed for a level 1 party, but I recommend that if you're running all of the adventures in the Radiant Citadel in order, that you start your party off at level 2, because the next adventure, which is called Written in Blood, is a level 3 adventure. So if you start off at level 2 with Salted Legacy, you can level up to 3 and then be on the right track. Your other option is to have the first adventure at the Radiant Citadel itself, and the party sort of explores and gets to know the area and the NPCs there, and then they level up to 2 and move on to Salted Legacy. And while we're on the subject of hub worlds and where your party hangs out, I strongly recommend making the night market the hub world for your entire Radiant Citadel campaign. The night market, which is where this adventure takes place, is just much more fleshed out. There's a lot more artwork, there's more NPCs, and the party will actually have a stake here because they're going to be doing this adventure, helping them out and getting to know the NPCs. So it's just, overall, it's a better hub where you can base out of the night market where you go on the other adventures throughout the book. The Radiant Citadel just doesn't have anything like this, where the party can form a strong bond with the NPCs and the location itself. Also, the night market may be the most recognizable thing about the Radiant Citadel, seeing as how it's on the cover of the book. One other thing that I recommend is that you give your party the opportunity to make some gold before they go into the night market. It is a market after all. If your party drew up fresh characters for this adventure, then chances are they don't have any money to spend. And without money, it's hard to enjoy the night market. So what I did was ambush the party with a couple of bandits on their way to the night market, and these bandits had been robbing travelers to and from the night market, stealing their gold, and this gives your party an opportunity to get a combat in and make some gold on their way to the night market. You can also slide in a few mundane items or some common magic items that you want your party to have that they didn't start with. All right, with all that out of the way, let's talk about the premise of this adventure. There are 2 merchant families here at the Dinsing night market that have been feuding for several generations. Kusa Zungun, who runs Zungun Family Seafood with her son Gammon, and Lamai Tianmo, a gnome who runs Tianmo Noodles. Both Kusa and Lamai have agreed not to continue their family's rivalry and have even started to build a friendship with each other. But a pepper merchant named Kasem Arun has decided to rekindle their conflict in order to bring down the value of their market stalls. He does this by using fey creatures known as windlings that can go invisible and harass each of the merchants and then leave evidence pointing to the other. His ultimate goal is to bring down the price of each of the shops so that they could be purchased by him. And the reason he's doing this is because his brother V Arun, who co-owns Spicy Brothers, is getting married soon, and Kasem is worried that his brother will leave him and he'll be unable to maintain Spicy Brothers. The party gets involved when a heated argument between both families starts up, and both families offer the party gold in order to investigate what's going on. And this investigation should clear the name of both families and lead to a confrontation with Kasem. One big change that I made to this adventure is the timeline itself. By the book, the party arrives at the night market, spends some time shopping, and then the big argument breaks out between the 2 families. Once this argument happens, the party is then hired to investigate, and then the adventure becomes find out what's going on. From there is a Renown System where the party has to play market games in order to build their reputation with the merchants and then gather information that will lead them to Kasem. I changed this completely. I instead made the market games an ongoing thing that was happening throughout the night, and at any time the party could either visit one of the games, or they could go shopping, or they could buy food. I got rid of the Renown System completely because I felt like there was already enough incentive to go to these locations and do the fun things. And I moved the big argument between the 2 families closer to the end of the adventure. That way, over the course of the night, as they're shopping and playing games, they see small hints that something's not right about the market. And then boom. This makes the party immediately invested in the 2 families and their argument because they themselves know that something's not right. The gold reward is just icing on the cake. They know something's up and they want to find out what it is. At this point, they can go talk to the merchants that they've already dealt with. They played the games, they spent gold, maybe they have a favorite, and they can ask them questions about what's going on. And over the course of the night, if they happen to have seen some windling mischief, they can also go and investigate that. Another reason I like putting the argument at the end of the adventure is because the night market sort of feels like a vacation. And if you immediately hit them with a job to do, then it feels like they're taken away from the vacation and they're back to work, even though this is the first adventure. The promise of shopping and games gets taken away almost immediately because now we have work to do. But maybe I'm overthinking it. If you want to have the Renown System and the big argument at the beginning, by all means. Now, assuming you don't have bandits ambush the party on the way to the night market, then the night market itself will be your very first scene. In future guides, I'm going to start laying everything out in scenes because honestly, that's how I prep for adventures. However, this adventure is not linear. The night market is more of a sandbox, with the night market being a scene and then each of the stalls being a scene of their own. For the merchants, I recommend finding some artwork for each NPC, come up with a unique personality, and an inventory list. You want your party to be able to spend their gold in order to obtain items that they wouldn't be able to get elsewhere. For example, I gave the parties that I ran access to the common magic items from Xanathars, and I charged about 50 gold pieces each. You could also put things like low-level potions and scrolls, or maybe some tools. The market games are a little more interesting and a little more involved. There are a total of 3 market games to play: the Arun Family Pepper Challenge, Battle Prawns, and Hide and Seek. In my opinion, the Pepper Challenge is the least interesting. The party just sits at a table and starts eating peppers, and they make a series of con checks depending on what pepper they grab. Battle Prawns is my favorite. The party has to cook the signature dish of the trusty leek, and they do so by getting into combat with green beans and a giant prawn. Success is based on how many rounds of combat it takes the party to prepare the dish. And finally, there's the Hide and Seek Challenge, which has the party exploring a cellar looking for silkworm. They have to use investigation or perception to find them, and then animal handling sleight of hand to grab them. They have to collect a total of 4. Now, I suggested earlier that the market games be an ongoing thing that's happening throughout the night, and at any time a party member could just walk up to the stall and play the game. By the book, all of these events take place in a tent, even Hide and Seek, which is odd to me because it's underground. But you go into the tent and then you go underground into the cellar and find the silkworms. I changed these so that the games were happening at the specific shop. For example, the Spicy Pepper Challenge was happening at Spicy Brothers, the Battle Prawns was happening at the Trusty Leek, and you could play hide and seek with the silkworms at Madame Culp's shop. As the party is shopping, eating food, and playing these games, you can use the Windling Mischief table to foreshadow the upcoming conflict. Then, whenever you're ready, you can trigger the big event where Gammon steals onions from Tianmo. Gammon will steal onions from the shop and then immediately take off running into the crowd where they will run into a party member. At this point, Lamai is yelling at Gammon for stealing the onions, Kusa is yelling at Lamai for yelling at her son, and Gammon can explain to the party why he stole. The reason being that Gammon thought Lamai stole the onions from their shop and Gammon was just stealing them back. You can squash this argument pretty easy by having bystanders confirm that Lamai has been at her shop the entire time and that the onions were in fact from Zungun. This puts the party in the position that they trust both families and that they believe someone is trying to cause a conflict between them. And they can start asking the other merchants, learning about the family feud, as well as who may be responsible, and possibly some sightings of those blue monkey creatures, the Windlings. You can have some fun with the argument between the two NPCs, maybe come up with some funny names that they decide to call each other in the middle of the heated argument. As for the investigation, the party can gather information from the local merchants. They can learn about the Spicy Brothers and how one of them is going to be getting married soon, and another one just got back from a trip to the Feywild. This can sort of hint at the Windlings. The party can also learn about the ongoing conflict between Zungun and Tianmo and how they squashed the conflict, but somehow it started back up. And if at any point your party gets stuck and is unsure where to go next, you can actually have them spot a Windling and then follow them back to the Spicy Brothers, where they can confront Kasem. This confrontation can go a number of different ways. If the party decides to go the combat route, they'll fight Kasem and his 3 Windlings. If the party decides to tell the higher-ups about what's going on, maybe the Merchants Guild, then Kasem will be arrested and Spicy Brothers will probably be shut down. The good ending, in my opinion, would be confronting Kasem and then telling his brother V about what's going on, and then V reassuring his brother that Spicy Brothers will be fine. And maybe one of the party members can buy a Windling from Kasem and have their own Windling pet. This is a great option if one of your party members speaks Sylvan, because they can have the Windling go invisible and scout for them. Whenever the party decides, this will be quest complete and they can level up to level 3, and they'll be ready for Written in Blood, assuming that you're continuing the Radiant Citadel adventures. If you plan on making the night market the hub where the adventures are staying, it would be great to expand upon the night market as they progress through the campaign. Maybe every time they complete an adventure, they recruit a new merchant from that adventure that sells unique goods. A great way to transition to the next Radiant Citadel adventure, Written in Blood, which takes place in a farming community, is to say that Tianmo Noodles gets her wheat from this farm. Maybe she wants to expand her business or expand her menu. Whatever the case, she needs to make a deal with some of the farmers in the next adventure, And now you have your hook. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. And if you did, you know how YouTube works. Hit those buttons, leave a comment down below. Let me know what you thought of Salted Legacy. And if you want to be a part of this D&D community, the link to the Discord is in the description. Come by, ask questions, let me know what you think. And as always, I'll see you at sundown.